Hello, this is Spellsquires MTG, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Witherbloom Witchcraft Commander deck. This is in the black-green colours, formerly known as Golgari. So the commander of this deck, Willow Dusk Essence Seer. This is 1 black-green, very cheap commander there, for a legendary creature, Dryad Druid. It's a 3/3. 1, tap, choose another target creature, put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of life you gain this turn, or the amount of life you lost this turn, whichever is greater. Activate only as a sorcery. So this commander tells us we're going to want to be paying life, gaining life to pump up our creatures, which means we're going to want to have some creatures which have benefits for us losing life and gaining. So how's this deck going to run? We're going to want to play a couple of things which care about life gain. Small creature like Bloodthirsty Aerialist, which whenever we gain life, it gets 2 +1/+1 counters. We're going to want to play things like Blood Tracker as well. And Blood Tracker is especially good because you can put counters on it with our commander. Then we're going to want to play cards which gain us life, like Sun Droplet, which gains us life, 1 life each upkeep if people deal damage to us. Things like Sangromancer, where if opponents discard cards or their creatures die, you gain life. It's a sort of general incremental life gain. And then we're going to finish off the game with new cards like Blossoming Bog Beast, where when it attacks, you gain 2 life, and then creatures you control get +X/+X instead of turn where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. So that's a general gist of how this deck's going to want to play. Also, as well as gaining life, we're going to want to pay life. So we've got card draw like Ancient Craving, draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life. Read, play a black, pay 2 life, draw a card. It's basically just pay a lot of life to draw cards. And we've got removal like Reckless Spite, where you lose 5 life and destroy 2 non-black creatures. When you want to be gaining a lot of life in one turn or losing a lot of life, so you can put as many counters on one creature as possible rather than gaining 5 and losing 5 in one turn, because there's not as much point in that. Let's look at this deck's stats. So this deck has 9 ramp cards, which is one a bit short, but it's definitely in the right number. Some of it's not as good as I'd like it to be. I like a bit more land ramp, perhaps a Farseek or something. Definitely go very well in here. Overall, it's the right sort of number. Next up, we have card draw. We've got 8.5, which is again slightly too low. We want it around 10. I say 8.5 because one of them isn't really card draw. I would not class Sapling of Kolfanor as a true card draw spell. This is because you have to reveal a creature to get the card into your hand. So you're not always going to get the life and the loss of life, and you're not always going to get the card in your hand. So I'd not class this as a true card draw spell. Board wipes. We have 4 board wipes, which is definitely the right number now. One of them, Taste of Death, isn't as good as it could be, but overall we've got the right sort of number. Then removal, we've got 6 pieces of removal. One of it's a new card, Pest Infestation, which is pretty good. You destroy up to X target artifacts or enchantments, and then you create twice X 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens. When this creature dies, you gain 1 life. That's a pretty common occurrence with this deck, where you create pest tokens which you can sacrifice, as you do have a couple of ways to sacrifice them. So the removal is around the perfect number, 6 bits of removal. One of them's on a Planeswalker, Opnixus Reignited, which is also card draw. We've got 10 plus sources of life gain. Some of that is on lifelink creatures. Things like Loxodon Warhammer gives creatures lifelink. Blood Tracker has got lifelink himself. One of the most expensive cards in the deck is Alhammer's Archive, which doubles the amount of life gain we have. So of course that's incredibly powerful. Then life gain synergy, so cards which benefit us for gaining life. There's 14 pieces of life gain synergy, which I think's a very good number because we're going to be gaining a lot of life with a lot of cards. The life gain thing was just the outstanding pieces of life gain I saw, but there's a lot of incremental life gain in this deck on Noxious Gearhulk, Druidic Satchel, and a lot of other cards. So we've got a lot more life gain than what I said with the 9, but that's just the cards by themselves which gain us life. So what's the deck value in total? Very good here, $104.12. It's the second most valuable deck behind the Lorehold one. The most expensive card is Alhammer's Archive at $13.99. This card doubles the amount of cards you draw and doubles the amount of life gain you'd have. So you, instead of gaining 2 life, you gain 4. Instead of drawing 1 card, you draw 2, apart from the one you draw in your draw step. So that's especially good with Greed because we can pay a black, pay 2 life and draw 2 cards. And it also doubles up the cards we draw for Well of Lost Dream, so we pay 1 to draw 2 cards instead. Incredibly powerful card there, can be utilised in a lot of decks. not just life gain decks. They've got Venter's Journal. It's a 5 mana card. It says you've got no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life for each card in your hand. This deck's got a lot of repeatable card draw, so you're going to have quite a full hand. So this is going to gain you a lot of life, probably between 4 and 7 life each turn, which is definitely a lot for you to pay into stuff like Greed, as I said before, and some of the newer cards as well. Then we've got Sapling of Colfinor. This is a legendary creature, Treefolk Shaman. It's indestructible. 3 hybrid black-green. When it attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you gain life equal to that card's toughness. Lose life equal to its power, then put it into your hand. This is the 0.5 of card draw because you don't always get that card in your hand. However, it still gains you life or loses you life. There's a lot of small creatures in here, so you're not going to always gain a lot of life or lose a lot of life. There are plenty of creatures in here, so you're going to draw a lot of cards from it. Then we've got Well of Lost Dreams. As I said before, whenever you gain life, you may pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gain. Then you draw X cards. Pretty good in a life gain deck, but paying 1 mana for 1 card is a very good trade. Definitely worth the price tag it is. Then we have Noxious Gearhulk. This says when it enters, destroy another target creature. And then if a creature is destroyed this way, you gain life equal to its toughness. So you destroy one of your opponent's creatures, and you gain 6 or so life if it's a larger creature. What are the best new cards from this deck? First up, we have Blossoming Bog Beast. This card by itself, even without it being in a life gain deck, probably very good. Even just a trample bonus for 5 mana, a repeatable creature, pretty good, as well as giving it +2/+2 because it automatically gains you 2 life. And because this deck's got a lot of incidental life gain, you could probably attack consistently for at least +4/+4. And if you have 3 creatures, that's +12 power, which is incredibly good. If you can protect this thing, there isn't any protection in the original deck list, but if you can get this to stick around, it's definitely a very large problem for your opponents. Next up, we have Ezerut Channeler, 5 green. Treefolk Druid, it's got reach, and creature spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. You tap it, you gain 2 life, and it's a 4/6. So this card basically just says creatures cost 2 less by themselves. As I said before, with the Blossoming Bog Beast, you're going to gain more than 2 life each turn. So you can probably get them costing 4, 5, 6 less. Casting something like Verdant Sun's Avatar for 2 green is very good. You're going to gain 5 life, and the rest of your creatures will cost less as well. This deck, you've got some very powerful new cards, and the best thing is they don't all care about life gain. So you draw a Grave Gardener for a green. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may return its battlefield face down under its owner's control, but it's a forest land, so this will ramp you when your creatures die. They're basically, because you bring them back as lands, they're basically untouchable because no one plays a land interaction, or at least they shouldn't do, unless they're evil. I think that's very good for the wider world of Magic. Blightmound is also pretty good, creating 1/1 pests when non-token creatures you control die. Definitely a recurring theme of the deck, pest tokens. In total, there are 20 new cards, 5 of which are from the main Strixhaven set. Be 16 exclusive to this deck, actually, because one of them is your commander. A couple less than the other decks, but still a pretty good number. Optional upgrades. First card is Aetherflux Reservoir. This card reads, whenever you cast a spell, you gain life equal to the number of spells cast before it this turn. Spells cast this turn, so you first gain 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. And especially with Ezerut Channeler, which makes your creature spells cost less, this allows you to gain a lot of life. And the best part about Aetherflux Reservoir, because you're gaining life, you can pay 50 and deal 50 damage to any target, so you can slowly shoot your opponents like the Death Star, aim 50 damage at them, kill them one by one, and the opponents you're not shooting the damage at, you can kill them with your small creatures of life, link pests and stuff. Next card is Yara, First of Locthwain. This says, whenever another black creature you control enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life and each opponent loses 1 life. And you can tap it, sacrifice another black creature and draw a card. Any sort of incidental life gain is very good, and especially at 3 mana. The mana base may not be able to support this on turn 3, but any sort of incidental life gain you can get is very good, especially as it's got a card draw on it as well. And also, most of your deck is black, so you're going to be triggering that a lot of the time. Next up is Essence Warden. Whenever another creature enters battle, you gain 1 life, so that's any player. When I've played this card before, I've found myself gaining 20 or so life from it over the course of the game. No one's going to probably board wipe till turn 5 at least, so you're going to gain least 10 or so life from it at that point. And finally, we've got Thorn of the Dusk Rose. We already have Sanguine Bond in this deck. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. This just has that same effect, but it's on a 3-mana creature. You also pay 5 and give all your creatures lifelink, which is another way to finish off your opponents, because you can attack in, deal 20 or so damage, and then drain someone for 20 because you've gained 20 life. Very powerful little card there from Core Set 2021. Definitely worth picking up for this deck if you do plan on buying it. Overall, I'd definitely recommend buying this deck. I wish they had put Phyrexian Reader in this deck. If you do have a Phyrexian Arena, that's definitely an amazing upgrade because you've already lost 1 life at your upkeep, which you're going to want to be doing anyway because this deck also cares about losing life as well as gaining it. I wish that would be the perfect place for this reprint. If you have one, make sure you put it in here. Same with Bolas' Citadel. That also loses you life, but I find the life gain side the more important side because most of the cards care about you gaining life rather than losing life. I hope you enjoyed this video. As per usual, I put the deck list with my upgrades in there. I may add a couple of extra option upgrades if I hadn't thought of them yet. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching and goodbye.